Welcome to Big Papa Rob's podcast Story Rewind with Mandy. I'm Big Papa Rob. Each of our stories are about one of the many missing people out there. We rewind the story of a missing person in hopes that someone will hear their story and can share information to help find them. There is always someone who knows something that can help find this missing person. The missing person we're going to tell you about today is Aaron Cody Fortner. He went missing February 21st, 2022 from Sylva, North Carolina. Mandy, I found out about this case through TikTok. Aaron's mother and sister were on a live with Dan that does Missing in USA. I started following Aaron's mother while I was working on other stories. One of her TikToks struck a chord with me. She stated, "It feels like young missing men are less important. My hope fades a little every day." As I went through my social medias that day, her statement replayed over and over in my head. And I looked at other posts, and it struck me that to a certain degree, she was right. There were more shares and comments on young ladies' missing posts than the guys. Let's rewind Aaron's story. Aaron Cody Fortner was born September 29th, 1996, to Christina and Nathan Fortner in North Carolina. After his parents separated, his mother remarried and had two girls, Courtney and Kendall, giving Aaron two younger sisters. Aaron struggled with socializing growing up and was given a diagnosis of Asperger's when he was in the 5th grade. Even with this diagnosis, he got good grades. Going into 6th grade, it was decided it would be best to homeschool him due to the socializing problems he was having in the classroom setting.
When Aaron was around 19 years old, he moved to Tennessee with a friend, and he lived there for about 9 years. During his time in Tennessee, he began drinking. When Aaron returned to North Carolina in October of 2021, he had a severe drinking problem. His family worked to give him the support he needed to try and kick the alcohol problem that he had. The family helped get him set up in a camper on his grandparents' property in Sylva, North Carolina. Aaron didn't have a car at this time, and he relied on his family and friends to get around. And Aaron used social media and dating apps to connect with people.
You know, Mandy, with him having Asperger's and the social issues that he had, using these apps was probably a lot easier for him to be able to make friends and talk to people than trying to do it in person.
Exactly. You're probably right. Being back in a small town after 9 years, Aaron didn't have a lot of friends still, and he got lonely. And on his social media and dating apps, he used aliases to try and protect his privacy. And he used different variations of names. He used Cody Smith, Cody Black, Cody Fortner, and Aaron Winehouse. Rob believes that him using these aliases is related to him being sexually assaulted by a man Aaron had met online when he was 17 years old. As mentioned earlier, Aaron had struggled some with alcohol, and he tried to quit alcohol at cold turkey. His family was glad he was trying to quit drinking, but they were worried for him, knowing the withdrawals can be very difficult on people. Aaron's sister Courtney and Aaron's mother Christina and his grandparents checked on him daily, and they saw that he was making progress on kicking the alcohol. And over time, Aaron began slipping back into drinking, unfortunately. As with any addiction, the struggle can be very hard. On February 20th, his mom, Christina, and his sister, Kendall, went and picked him up, and they took him just down the road to get some food from the Dollar General store. And according to Kendall, Aaron was acting strange and paranoid in the car and talking about a dog that was outside the car and that it was following him, even though there was no dog there. After the trip to the store, his mother dropped him back off at his camper with the food she bought him, and she helped him take the food in the camper and noticed at that time that it was very neat and tidy. That night, early morning of February 21st, Courtney overheard a call her grandfather got between 1 and 2 a.m. from Aaron. He said that he was sounding confused and frightened, but the call disconnected. Then his grandmother's phone rang, and she could hear the grandmother talking to Aaron, telling him to look outside. You're at the camper, you just need to go to bed, and we will figure it out in the morning. This would be the last time anyone would hear from Aaron.
The morning of February 21st, 2022, when Courtney got up, she questioned her grandparents about the late night phone call from Aaron. And they said he sounded confused and thought there were dogs and people and cars in a parking lot outside his home, and that they just needed to move the camper. Courtney then tried calling Aaron to check on him, but there was no answer. Hours passed and still no word from Aaron. Courtney decided to go over to Aaron's camper and found the camper a complete mess. Things strung out all over the place, which was the complete opposite just hours before when Christina took Aaron to the store. All the lights were back on, even an electric blanket was left on. His phone charger was still there, and the backpack that he used still sitting on the counter with his wallet in it. Nothing appeared to be missing except Aaron, his phone, and his stuffed dog that he'd had since childhood. One thing Aaron's mother pointed out about Aaron is that because of his Asperger's, he was almost OCD about things being put away correctly, doing things a certain way, and even down to the electric blanket being on, she said was just totally not Aaron. He was one of those that went back and checked to make sure things were turned off multiple times before he would leave.
He just had to have everything just just everything in its place, and there was a place for everything, and that's where he needed it, right?
Yep. His mother knew as soon as she saw that room that something bad had happened.
Because just previously in the early mornings or the night before, it was all nice and tidy when she took him, and then all of a sudden, a few hours later, they go back, and it's a complete disaster, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Courtney then notified the family that Aaron was missing, and the family showed up and searched for Aaron. As the family began searching the property for Aaron, his little sister Kendall found Aaron's hat that he always wears laying down along the drive coming up to the camper. According to Courtney, the area where the hat had been found appeared that Aaron may have been sitting on a hill along the side of the driveway and laid it down. Unable to find him on their own, Courtney made the dreaded call to call the police to report Aaron missing.
Fortunately, in this case, the police responded in full force to help search for Aaron. According to Christina, they brought dogs, drones, and even the fire department came to help search. The dogs did detect a scent near the driveway, and that's where it ended. Unfortunately, that night, shortly after everyone got on the scene, it began to rain, so they don't know if the rain may have washed away any evidence that could have been there. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office and NCSBI has spent many man-hours searching for Aaron and chasing down any and all leads, including cell phone usage, and as much as they could with social media by getting warrants for the social media apps that Aaron used. Based on their Facebook postings, they did another extensive search March 2nd, 2022, including bringing in a swift water team from Cherokee to search nearby water. At one point, a neighbor had seen a vehicle that had pulled in the drive, sat at the entrance, and then drove up on the camper and left. This was a white Toyota 4Runner. Rob, when you talked to Christina about this, it was before she had been up there on the 20th, but they still don't know whose vehicle that it belonged to. Is that right?
Yeah. When talking to the neighbor, he had actually seen the vehicle because I was under the impression it was security footage, but it was actually the neighbor had saw the vehicle, but it was before she went up to take Aaron to the dollar store.
Oh, okay. There was also another report that a truck driver that was parked across the street from the Dollar General, which is only located about 3.5 miles away from Aaron's camper, the driver heard a young man yelling, "Dad, don't do this. Dad, why are you doing this again?" And it sounded like the voice was going up the mountains behind the Dollar General store the night or early morning that Aaron went missing. But with mountains on both sides of the highway, it could have been echoing and coming from anywhere. Police have searched the areas on both sides of the highway, but have not found anything. One report said that Aaron's last phone ping was in that general area. Aaron's mother and sister made fake accounts on one of the dating apps to track down the older guy that had sexually assaulted Aaron and found out his name and turned it into the sheriff's office, and they investigated this person, but it doesn't appear that he had anything to do with Aaron's disappearance. The family also used the phone records to call many of the numbers they didn't recognize to see if they had any information, but it led nowhere. It's been over 2 years now, and there's still no answers. Since he's been missing, his sister Courtney got married in 2023, and she is now expecting her first baby. The family knows that there is no way Aaron would have just run off. They know if he had left, he would have returned for his sister's wedding.
His sister and his mother have both taken to social media to get Aaron's information out there in hopes that someone will recognize this story and be able to provide information in locating Aaron. I have links in the show notes for 2 different GoFundMe drives, one for a billboard and one for a private investigator. Let's talk about Aaron's description again. Aaron Cody Fortner went missing February 21st, 2022 from Sylva, North Carolina. Aaron is described as a white male between 5 foot 7 inches tall to 5 foot 9 inches tall, weighing 130 to 140 pounds. He has brown eyes and brown hair. He was 25 years old at the time he went missing. He also has some tattoos. On the right wrist of a geometric deer, upper right arm of a deer with a cross, upper left arm and or shoulder of a paw print with a wolf design. The last known clothing was camel shorts and a black hoodie. He may be using the following alias names: Cody Black, Cody Fortner, Cody Smith, and or Aaron Winehouse. He may have a cell phone with him and a stuffed dog that he's had since his childhood. If you have any information, please contact Jackson County Sheriff's Office at 828-586-8901. Case number 20220370. Or you can contact the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigations at 828-330-4678, case number 2022-00606. The stories we tell about the missing, I hope, arms you with new information about this missing person that might lead to finding them. Additionally, we hope that you will share the information about this person in hopes that by sharing it, it may lead to locating this person. As with almost all missing person cases, There is someone out there that knows something. Please come forward and contact the authorities. Once again, I'm Big Papa Rob, and this was an independent podcast called Big Papa Rob's Podcast Story Rewind. Our podcast is written and produced by Big Papa Rob. Story editing is done by Mandy. I couldn't have done this without the support of my wonderful wife, Mandy, aka Big Mama. If you want to support our podcast, you can buy us a cup of coffee. You can find the link in the show notes, or better yet, go to our new webpage, BigPapaRobPodcast.com, and find it on our support page. Speaking of support, we now have an affiliate link on our support page. The company I buy my top hats from has allowed us to be an affiliate. If you click the link and make a purchase, we make a portion of that purchase, which in turn helps support our operating costs in bringing you this podcast. If you've enjoyed my podcast, please leave a 5-star rating and tell others about the podcast. And finally, if you have a story idea, please contact me through our website, social media, or email. A link to our website is listed in the show notes. I would love to hear from you. Today's music was The Shield by Hot Dope from Pixabay. This was a Big Papa Rob Podcast 2024. See the show notes for links to the reference material used in this podcast.
That night, early morning of February 21st, Courtney overheard a call her grandfather got between 1 and 2 a.m. from Aaron.